Would you please introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Joe Galliano. My DOC number is 471711.
Okay, Mr. Galliano. Okay, today what we're gonna do is we're gonna have your parole hearing. Even though your date is not till December, we can have them further out if we have opportunities. So even if you would be granted today, you would not get out to December. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so today, speaking in opposition, we will have Mr. Randy Myers of the DA's office in East Jefferson. We have Mr. Robert Lancaster and law student Louis Bersalt. I hope I'm saying that right. Mr. Bersalt, will you be doing the talking?
Yes, Mr. Freeman. So Robert Lancaster here with the LSU Law Clinic. With me is Lou Borso. She's an international exchange student from France who assisted Mr. Galliano in preparation of the hearing and worked to prepare the packet submitted to you. If the committee deems it appropriate, she's prepared to make a statement of support at the end of the hearing.
Okay. We have Mr. Kerry Myers of the Louisiana Parole Project. Here but not speaking, we have Tammy Ortego, sister, Esther O'Brien, godmother, Alex Galliano, nephew, Darrell Lane, stepfather. We have Adrian Hutchison, another attorney, Roy Galliano, brother, he will be speaking, Argelia Galliano, sister-in-law, Diane Galliano, mother, Darrell Bordelon, friend, Pam Wilson, sister, Ashley Lane, wife, and she will also be speaking, and Mr. Glenn Wilson Jr., who is a nephew. Have I missed anyone on either side? Did I miss anyone and didn't announce their name and relationship? Okay, I did. Okay, we're at Louisiana State Penitentiary. This case has been assigned to, oh, let me read your dates into the record. I'm sorry. Okay, you were sentenced to a 40-year sentence. Your parole date is 12/1/24. You have a good time date of 12/1/38, and you have a full term date of 12/2/44. Does that all sound correct to you, Mr. Galliano?
Sir.
Okay, your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Mr. Prater, would you begin the question, please, sir?
Okay, Mr. Galliano, let me ask you something. How long have you been how many years have you served sentenced? How much time have you been behind bars?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20. Okay.
20 December.
All right. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the incident, but let's start before that with the baby that had the broken leg. Tell me how that happened, because that could be the difference between a serial or just an incident.
Yes, sir. On that date of the broken leg, my dad and I was on the way to a camper repair place, and Christopher was in the backseat behind my dad. We got to the camper place, and my dad got out, and I got out, and 4 of the camper guys came out, and I was taking Christopher out of his booster seat and talking to the camper guys at the same time. And when I picked him up, I pulled him out, and it sounded like a popping sound. So I told my dad, I said, I need to take him to the hospital. See, he wasn't crying or anything like that, but I wanted to take him just to make sure everything was okay.
And you took the baby to the hospital, and then what happened? What did the hospital say?
They said it was a broken, or it wasn't a fractured leg. It wasn't broken, it was fractured.
Same thing, but what part of the leg was fractured?
The lower leg.
Okay, and the baby didn't cry?
No, he didn't cry. And my dad was even said he didn't see, everybody was standing around when it happened and they didn't think any to even take him to the hospital. I said, no, just take him to the hospital and have him checked out, just to be sure.
Okay. Well, let's fast forward 6 months or 5 months to the incident that put you where you are. Tell me about that day.
On the date and time of that incident, I was in the backyard with Christopher and he was playing with one of our new puppies we just got. And I was cleaning up around the yard and I noticed Christopher had urinated on himself. So I called Christopher's name to get his attention and he wasn't paying me no attention. He was paying attention to the dog. So I walked over to Christopher and I knelt down in front of him and placed my hands under his arms to explain to him, the importance of letting me know when he's got to go to the bathroom because we were potty training him at the time. And he still wasn't paying me attention. So that's when I had shook Christopher to try to get his attention away from the dog. And he still wasn't giving me no attention. So I took him inside, changed his clothes, and I noticed that he started going into what appeared to be a seizure, which was something I never seen Christopher do before. So I ran next door to my dad's house so he could call 911 while I did CPR on him until the EMT got there.
Okay. That's all I have. Ms. Ledoux?
Have you seen Christopher since you were sent to jail?
No, ma'am. The last time I seen Christopher was at the hospital that night. That was the last time I seen Christopher.
Are you aware of his condition today?
No, ma'am.
You don't know the condition he's in now?
No, ma'am. I have no input on
Okay. Have you taken victim awareness classes?
Yes, ma'am. That was one of my main classes I took that got the most out of. It gave me the ability to realize how many people was infected by my actions that day. It also gave me an understanding and was able to hear from other victims on how someone's actions affected their lives. But mostly it gave me a chance to write an accountability letter to Christopher and apologize for my actions.
And you were 32, you were about 32 years old when this crime occurred?
No, ma'am. No,
How,
ma'am, I was 21.
You were
21.
when this, sorry about that, bad calculation on my part. 21, okay, thank you. I have no other questions, Mr.
Okay,
Freeman.
I just have a couple questions. Were you ever at the state police barracks?
Yes, sir. 5 years at State Police Barracks.
Okay, why were you removed from the state police barracks?
A cell phone.
Okay, you got called contraband, okay. And I see you went to the hospital a good bit. Could you tell me why? It's been recently. Well, you have any medical issues that we should know about?
I had cellulitis in my leg. I didn't know what it was. I work a lot. I work 7 days a week. So my leg started swelling up and I thought it was just a rash. So I just kind of let it go for a little while. And when I finally did go see, it got to a point where they had to take me to the hospital. I spent 7 days in the hospital behind it.
Did you take the victim impact class?
Yes.
What did you learn from that?
Just on how my actions have affected so many people. And I can't even put into words how sorry I am it's just a lot. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have no further questions, so we're gonna move on and first to speak on your behalf will be Roy Galliano, brother.
Me? Yes, sir, it's me.
Mr. Graviano, please, identify yourself and,
Junior, I'm his older brother.
okay, and what would you like us to know about?
Well, I'm obviously here to support him, but also I have a job for him, a full-time employment, a place to stay. He's gonna have transportation, a company vehicle, and a truck. I own an AC business, been in business about 26 years.
Okay,
And we also, he's gonna, he'll be where we can, help him get back into society and become a tax-paying citizen and, working his way back into to the real world.
okay, sounds good, thank you. Next, we'll have Ashley Lane, his wife.
Hi, that's me. I am Ashley. I'm Joe's wife. I know that we are limited on time, so I'm gonna try and say it fast and wrap it up for you guys. Joe and I have been together for the past 8 years. Next month will be 5 years. Joe and I have been married, and I must say over the years, I have seen his growth. He has become very humble, very loving and kind, patient and understanding. Joe has poured into my life spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Not only has he poured into my life, but also the lives of my children. I have a 20-year-old son who graduated at the age of 18, and he was a little conflicted on what it was that he wanted to do after graduation. So he had a conversation with Joe, and he helped him, choose which route he wanted to go. So he chose HVAC. He went through his schooling, and throughout his schooling, he reached out to Joe to ask a million questions and keep him updated on what was happening during school, even throughout his EPA study. So he passed his EPA. Joe was the first person he wanted to let know. Graduation was kind of bittersweet. He walked across the stage and received his certification, and he wished Joe was there to be a part of that. So now he is 20 years old. He owns his own business. He is EPA certified, registered in the state of Louisiana, and insured. And he gives a huge thanks to Joe for being there throughout his journey. He couldn't be here with us today, but he is joining us via Zoom. So he had a real huge impact on him, as well as my 22-year-old son, who was headed down a rough path, making poor decisions, hanging out with the wrong kids. And Joe said, let me talk to him. And I did. And Joe didn't talk at him. He didn't point out the things that he did wrong. He simply prayed for him, encouraged him, motivated him, and advised him, to choose better friends. And it worked. So he's now back in college. He's working. And I believe in my heart that it was because of that conversation. And he continued to just check in with them, make sure they're okay, make sure they're staying on the right path. And so my prayer today is that you guys would find it in your hearts to grant him parole so that he could continue to pour not only into my children's lives, but also into lives of people in the community, on his job, at church. And he does have a phenomenal support system in myself, my children, the rest of his family and friends. We all love him, we support him, and we are here to make sure that he gets reacclimated in society and be able to know how to navigate the changes that occurred since him being incarcerated. So thank you guys for letting me speak this morning.
Thank you for speaking. Okay, now we'll go to Mr. Kerry Myers of the Parole Project.
Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here to support Mr. Galliano should this board grant him today. Mr. Galliano will certainly benefit from the resources our program has to offer, particularly our residential reentry program. Beyond that, we'll continue to provide case management for Mr. Galliano should he need any support down the road. We were impressed by Mr. Galliano's record. He's got over 400 days of CTRP credits. He's a trustee. He works AC, HVAC. He's got employment waiting for him. He's got a very supportive family. we would just ask this board to consider all these things. Parole Project stands ready to assist Mr. Galliano in his transition, and we know that he has put himself in the best possible position for success, and Parole Project will help him down that road.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, all right, now we're going to hear from Mr. Galliano. What do you have to say for yourself? What would you like us to know? Let me ask you one more question. I was looking at your disciplinary report. What was the contraband for in 2022?
22 was they found pills in my computer at work, which was in a open work area. It was deferred to a lie detector test, and I took a lie detector test and passed it. So it's supposed to be taken out of my record.
So Mr. Freeman, we actually have a statement from Brandy Perry at Hunt that I can ask Reginald to fax over. But back in January of 2024, Mr. Perry reviewed the record and saw the conduct report was deferred, and that report is no longer in his record. I can have this faxed over to you if you like.
Okay, I trust you. Okay, and last question, Mr. Galliano, what was the other contraband for in 2020?
20 was a dirty urine. I filed an appeal on that as well. And as you can see from my record, my trustee status was not taken and none of my privileges was taken away. It was supposed to be taken out of my record.
Okay.
From what I was told.
I just wanted to know what the contrabands were. Okay, Ms. Brosalt, would you like to speak now? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, the offender.
And Mr. Freeman, do you have word about good?
Mr. Freeman.
Yes. I had you next.
This, okay, all right. I'm getting questions across the room. No, that's fine.
No, go ahead. Good. I probably should have went with you before I spoke. Yeah. What do you have to say, Warden?
Okay. So I am limited on what I can tell you about Joe because he AU'd into us in 8 of 2022. He came to us as a Class A trustee. Came to us for continuing of him doing his HVAC work. So he has worked as a Class A trustee here since April of 22. And, you know, he's got, since he's also taken his victim awareness. He's done his accountability letter. He's got thinking for a change. So in the short time that he's been here, he's been Class A trustee. He's done a good job for us as far as maintenance, but he's continued in his program.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Warden.
All right.
Okay, now, Ms. Brosalt.
Mr. Freeman,
I'd like to say something, Mr. Lancaster.
Mr. Galliano has a statement that he'd like to make for the committee.
Okay.
All right. First, I would like to thank the board for hearing my case today. I would also like to apologize again to Christopher and his family for all the pain and suffering I've caused them. As you can see from my record from day one coming into prison, I've taken and done everything that the DOC system offers to better myself. I've also taken a step further and became a mentor and mentored other guys at work, at church, in classroom training. A lot of my mentees got paroled out and in the HVAC business. I just want to let y'all know that and reassure y'all, if I am granted my parole today, that I will not be coming back to prison. This is a one-time thing for me.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now, let's see if we can get this straightened out. Now you get to speak.
Good morning, dear member of the committee. So I'm Lou Bourseau, an international student from France here at LSU. I first wanted to thank you to allow me to speak on behalf of Mr. Galliano. So even though I'm not certificate under Louisiana Rule 20, I have been assisting Mr. Galliano through the preparation of this hearing, and I also submitted a brief on behalf of his application. So first, I want to highlight Mr. Galliano's work because he shows consistency by keeping the same job for 20 years. He is actually valued and respected for his job. He has become a mentor to teach other inmates his experience and his skill in this job. Actually, some of those inmates are out now of prison and are doing really well and work in HVAC company due to Joe positive influence of them. So also Joe, during his time in prison, he took a lot of programming to try to better himself and work on the things that led him to be into prison. He took victim awareness, anger management. He is now more able to deal with his emotion. He thinks before acting, and he has become a more calm person, and he's focused on his goal. He also, Mr. Galliano, has a low Tiger score, highlighting the fact that he has a low risk of recidivism if he is granted the privilege of parole. He only got 5 write-up in 20 years in prison, and always make sure to comply with the rule of the prison. So he is actually a trustee for 15 years and gained the trust of the warden. Also, finally, Mr. Galliano have planned a really realistic 3-on-3 plan. First, he's going to have the support of the Louisiana Parole project that will ensure his transition into the outside world. And after, he's going to have a place at his brother that's going to be near his job, where he will continue to do the same job as the one he's doing right now in prison, and for which is really valued. So for all those reasons and the reason that we stayed during this hearing, we humbly ask that the committee will grant Mr. Galliano parole with any condition that you think are appropriate. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. And before I go to our last speaker, Mr. Myers, I would just like to read into the record that Judge Cox, who took Judge Wicker's place, who was the original sentencing judge, is opposed. No comment from the district attorney. The sheriff is opposed, Joseph Pinto. The chief didn't comment. The family, Miss Wilson, your sister, is unopposed. Miss Diane Galliano, your mother, is unopposed. And the victim, James Cook, the grandfather of Christopher Cook, who has raised him, is very much opposed. Okay, so at this time, I will let Mr. Myers speak.
Good morning, Randall Myers, Assistant DA Jefferson Parish. We're strongly opposed to Mr. Galliano's request, as is Mr. Cook. I spoke to Mr. Cook last week. He didn't have the ability to be able to log into this hearing today. He didn't understand how to do that. So that's why he is not here with us today. First I'd like to say, I don't know that there's anything that a 2-year-old could do that would deserve to be abused, much less to have to suffer the serious abuse that occurred in this particular case. And not only was it this particular incident, but when you look back at the prior incident with the broken leg, I've got a 6, a 4, and 2-year-old grandchildren, and to end up with a fractured leg, taking them out of the car seat, has to be significantly more than what Mr. Galliano explained to the board today as to how that incident happened. Also, his description of how the incident that resulted in these charges happened is not believable. Mr. Galliano said he put his hands under the child's arms and shook him briefly because of him urinating on himself. But when the child was brought to the hospital, he was diagnosed with shaken baby syndrome, 22 bruises on his body. He's got a brain injury. He's partially paralyzed on the right side. He wears a brace to help him use his right arm and his right leg. and he needs special glasses to be able to see. This child has a 21-year-old child now has a serious, injury that's directly the result of abuse that was inflicted on him when he was 2 years old. It's truly unbelievable. And I think 19 years out of a 40-year sentence, or almost 20 years, is insufficient time to serve for the crime that was committed. And so if we go and look at some of the things that Mr. Galliano's done while incarcerated, he started getting some disciplinary reports. He said in 2020, he failed a drug test, or dirty urine, as he called it, that he appealed, but that is still in the record. I don't see where that has been removed from his record, nor was the contraband removed. But I think that one is more, sounds like it potentially could have been removed. I think the programming that he has taken that relate to this offense is very limited, and I'm not exactly sure what additional programs they have to assist him there, but he's only taken an anger management and a nurturing parent course. Other than that, there's nothing that he has taken that deals with abusing children and how to prevent abusing children in the future. So for those reasons and the extremely strong victim opposition, we are opposed to his request. Thank you.
Okay, I think that about wraps it up, or is the board ready to vote? Okay, Mr. Prater, you'll be first.
Okay, Mr. Galliano, because of the seriousness of the crime, because there were 2 incidents, we're not talking about just one, we're talking about 2 incidents. And the fact that there was additional bruising that we didn't really talk about a whole lot. And the fact that you served just less than half of your time, I'm gonna vote to deny it at the time. I appreciate all the work that you're doing. I appreciate the reputation you've gotten at the correctional facilities that you've been in. But at this point, like I say, I'm gonna vote to deny.
In addition to Mr. Prater's concerns noted, I would also point out severe victim opposition, law enforcement opposition, and I too vote to deny.
Okay, and looking at this case, I'm more nervous about the write-ups than anything right now. Both of them dealt with drugs. I think maybe you might need to revisit some more drug treatment and then reapply, but my vote is also to deny.
Thank you.
This concludes.